Hi, this is Professor Michael Smith. In our second video here, we're going to review the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript setup for this project, which includes learning how to use Font Awesome's font library so that we can make these lovely icons like these ghosts right here. You're going to need to create an account at Font Awesome. So going to fontawesome.com, click the Start for Free, enter an email address, and just follow the instructions to get an account set up. Once you have one set up, you're going to be able to create a kit. All right. It may create one by default for you. You can rename it, or otherwise you're just going to create a new kit. With a free account, you just get one kit. In this kit, you want to make sure you're set to free still, otherwise they're going to be prompting you for payment. We're going to be using the web font, and what's important about using the web font is that every icon actually is a font. So we're going to be able to use font CSS values like color, okay, among others, and font size to change the color and size of each icon. You save those changes, and then you can copy the kit code, and that's this source script right here. The script tag with the source and the JS file, right? So you can copy the code, or you can also, if you want to get a sense of where it should exist, by clicking on the kit name, you'll see not only the script element in that code, but also where it belongs in the head of your document. So let's look now at that HTML document. We have an HTML document with our script element and the source to the JS file. We have a link element to our style sheet, which we're going to be looking over. In particular, we're going to be looking at the I element and how we style it. We also have in our body of our document, we have this moron.js file that we're going to be using right now. It just has a bunch of color values that we're going to be using. If you want to use them, you can make up your own, just to make it easier when writing code. Within the body of this document, we have this window element, a div with the window class. Then we have the game space, and then we have our instructions and our icons. In the instructions, you'll see we just have an H2, all right, which, as you might imagine, is where we're placing and putting our instructions for each scene. Then the most interesting part is we have our div with the class icons. In this div, we have a number of I elements. At the moment, we have 4, 3 ghosts and a text icon. All right, so you can see 1, 2, 3 ghosts and a text icon. So let's look at the ghost icon. First, you can see that I element has this FAS class as well as this FA-ghost class. Well, where did that come from? That comes from Font Awesome's library. So if we go back and we look at Font Awesome's set of icons, all right, and we want to use free icons checked, and you'll see there's dozens and dozens. There's literally 1,500 icons to choose from. And if I type ghost and search for ghost, you can see there's our ghost that's used within the Moron test. And all we've done is change its color and size. All right, so if I click on this ghost, you can see it instructs us, hey, use this I element with the class FAS and the class FA-ghost, and you can note there's nothing in the element itself. It's just an I element with its closing tag. All right, similar to us, but we have some extra styles here. We have this inline style that gives a color property and a value, a left property and a value, and a top property and value. And these are changes to the base I element styles, and we're going to look at those in just a moment. But you can see in the game we have blue, pink, and red, and their positioning is 35% down and 35% across, where the pink icon, all right, is 20% across and 70% down. So that makes sense, 20% across. And this is based on the entire window size, so 70% down. Okay. And then the red icon, 70% across, 43% down, 70% across, 43% down. And then finally the text icon. And you can see I'm calling it a text icon because we're going to be talking about icons in general throughout the game, even though it's text. But this is are where we don't use Font Awesome's class system. We still use the I element because we're going to want to use I elements throughout the game. And it's just our custom text dash icon class, and I've given it a color, and it's positioned left from 80% across, 80% down. But you can see that for text or any other text, so I can put text here, test, and you can see it puts that content there. So if we want to use text, which there's going to be examples where we do within our game, this is the only, when we're using a picture icon, there's no content in the I element. When we're using text or a symbol, we will use content within the I element. But finally, let's look at that CSS for the I element. And you can see that, and I'm going to just describe the positioning system so you understand how it works a little more. So every I element is positioned absolutely relative to the game space div, which is positioned relative. All right. It takes up 100% of the width of the space anyway, but you can see they're positioned absolutely, which allows us to use the left and top property and values. All right. And by default, all I elements are centered 50% down, 50% across based on the width of the game space. And then there's a color and there's a font size of 12 rem. We use a system where we're using rem units, so where every rem stands for 10 pixels effectively. If you look at the CSS reset at the top of the document, you'll see how that works. So besides the font size, the color, and the positions, we also are using this transform property and translate function so that the icon element is centered on its position. So left and top centers the element in the top left hand corner. So effectively the position would be right here, would be 35, 35, which is actually about here. But translating, we translate it back based on the width and height of the element. So this is the center point is that position system. So it's not from the top right hand corner, it's the center of the element. So this is going to be used and reused in every icon. Then finally, here's our little filter property with a drop shadow function, and then it's z-indexed above, and that's going to be important later on. But then you can see the basics of the text icon itself. So the text icon, again, this is our custom CSS of the text icon. We have a color. We use Patrican for this, which is a Google font, which you can see is attached at the top here, as well as this other one, Titan 1, which is used later on in the tutorials. Right now we're just using Patrican, and Patrican is used both for the instructions as well as text icons. It has a default font size, but we're going to be changing these font sizes, as well as it uses that transform translate, and by default all the text icons have no filter on them, so there's no drop shadow on them. And so that's the basics of the document. We're going to be manipulating the document to create our first layout from one of the scenes in the next video.